In this episode, we talk about what it really takes to be an entrepreneur, why confidence is at the source of all of it, and why some days just aren't that great as an entrepreneur. And I'm excited to show y'all what's possible because, if anything, Kacy has been the true testament of showing up, owning her power, and putting in the work. So, this episode's a good one. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Latisse Hudson, and in 2018, I quit my corporate job, launched my coaching business, and in less than 1 year, I hit the six-figure mark. And now I'm here to help you do it too. So each week on the podcast, I'm going to share all things money, mindset, and online marketing so you can reach more people, make more money, and do what you love from the comfort of anywhere in the world. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. It's your time to elevate. Hey, Kacy, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Latisse. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so pumped to have you on. I've been dying to get you on the show. I would love for you to start off, though, and tell the listeners, who are you, where you're from, what do you do, how do you show up in the world? Let us know a little bit more about you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So I am an online business owner. I am a coach and I love to coach on energy, manifestation, and business. So I love all things spiritual or woo-woo, so to speak. I also love business, how to market yourself, how to use Instagram, social media to run an online business. And yeah, I just really enjoy the variety of opportunities we have as online business owners. And I had no idea a few years ago that I would even end up in this space. I didn't know that coaching online was a thing. It was so new to me. So to be here now is so interesting because yeah, my whole business started off in healthcare.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. So many people, just like myself, even like 4 or 5 years ago, I had no idea that like coaching was a real thing. When I first discovered coaching, I thought it was a scam. And I was like, there's no way these people are making all this money. They're lying. And I had like that terrible mindset behind it. And obviously that has since changed. But yeah, I think so many people still don't know. We're still in like this early adopters phase. So I'm just super grateful to be in it when we got in it. So I would love to kind of know, like, what was your background before you got into coaching? Because you had a full-fledged like whole career. So what was that all about?
Yeah, so I'm a speech language pathologist by license. So I have a master's degree in speech language pathology. I was working as a contractor. So it was it was my own company. However, I was working for other people. So I would contract in the school districts, I would contract in private practices, and I was making really good money. I mean, I paid off all my student loans on that salary. I was saving up for a house. I was like doing all the things that I felt like you should do after graduation. And I was working 3 jobs and doing all the things. And at a certain point, I just started to get burned out. I was like, I can only make maybe like 6 figures if I'm lucky at this job. And I feel like the impact I'm having is so amazing, but I could be impacting more people. So then I started to look into, well, do I want to get a PhD and continue on this road of academia, or do I want to look into entrepreneurship? And it all kind of changed for me when I was on the phone call with my grandma actually had worked for. And my grandma's like, you got to talk to my friend, blah, blah, blah. She's in healthcare and she started her own business. You should talk to her. I said, okay. So I got on the phone with her and I just will never forget. She's like, Kacy, here's the thing. She's like, you're never going to be happy in academia. She's like, you have an entrepreneurial spirit. You're not going to like it. I was just like, oh my gosh. And I knew she was right. Like I could feel it in my soul. I was like, she's right. She's correct. I'll not like it. So I'm like, I guess business is what I got to do. So then I started to do, the courses and just like learning like Tony Robbins and all these things. And I was just like in that rabbit hole, but I'm like, you still don't know what to do. You're still like, okay, I know that this exists. I know that people are doing who are coaching or running online courses and they're doing really well. And so I started with online courses for healthcare professionals. So I started doing courses and I'd make pretty decent money after a while, like after a year of like doing free things for forever and doing it.
What was
after
that
work.
number? I'm curious. I love numbers. What was like
Yeah.
that number? Because decent so like varied. So what's that
Yeah.
number?
So I would say like it was bad for a long time. My first time where I thought it was pretty decent, I made $4,000
That's
in
awesome.
in one launch.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a like a low ticket offer. So that
Yeah.
was exciting for me. I was like, oh, okay. But I'm like, I can't do this every month. Like this is not
Right.
sustainable.
Definitely not.
So then I'm like, I gotta figure out another way. I can't just stay in this like course launch mode to a very specific niche of people that I love helping, but I know that I can do even more. So then I started coaching healthcare professionals to start any kind of business, private practice, telepractice, because COVID hit, their own businesses, if even selling resources, digital products online. And that kind of evolved into helping other entrepreneurs. And so it kind of snowballs after a while. After you've been in the
Yeah.
online space for a while, you start to like grow and experience more. And you're like, oh my gosh, there's no glass ceiling. What is this?
You're like, there's unlimited potential. Like I can
Yes.
do whatever I want, however I want, in integrity, and make a lot of money while doing it. So I want to back up a little bit because what I heard is that obviously it was your grandma, right? That's what you said. Your grandma
Yeah.
was like, you're not going to be happy in academia. So walk me through like what feelings came up for you, because it sounds like you kind of already knew that that wasn't going to be the right fit for you. And having somebody else tell you that, that could have either went one of two ways. That could have been like, who do you think you are? Or thank you so much for shining light on my purpose. So it sounds like it was the latter, but how did you feel kind of knowing that like academia wasn't going to be for you? And like, what was the next steps that you like took to ensure that you started on like your entrepreneurial path?
Oh, I love this question. Yeah, it was my grandma's friend, and she had a very successful multi-million-dollar company for healthcare professionals and continuing education. And so that's kind of where I wanted to start. And honestly, I was very flattered. I was really flattered that she saw that side of me, that she's like, Kacy, it's really hard, but you can do it. And I see that you're driven and you're smart and you have this like passion. She's like, that's all you need to have a business. And she's like, you just figure it out. She's like, you're going to have to take risks. She's like, a lot of people aren't willing to take risks.
They're
And so
definitely
she was
not.
just so real with me that I was just like, this woman's amazing. She would have been my first coach if she was a coach. Like if I could have hired her as a coach, I would have, because I was like sold on that phone
Take
call.
all
like,
my money, honey.
This lady, I'm like, can you get me to where you're at? Because let's do it.
Yeah, because clearly you know what's up. Like clearly
she knows what's going on. Yeah. So I was just so grateful for her. And yeah, with academia, it was interesting. I did interview with a college. I interviewed with a program. It was fully funded. I was like ready to like apply. I'd even signed up for the GRE because I had to retake it because it'd been too long since my last one. I was serious. Like I was going to do it. And I sit down, have the meeting with her. It was wonderful. She was the nicest person ever. It was the best program, probably. It wasn't even that far from where I lived. And I just felt like throwing up afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh, why do I feel like I'm going to throw up?
So your body was like signaling like, this is not it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Literally,
how the body works,
your body does that. Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. And it was around that time that my spiritual journey was really happening. Like I was really awakening. And so it was like, I know this is a sign. I need to follow the signs. And so
yes,
I wrote her back. I was like, thank you for the opportunity. Like, I'm so grateful to have been considered. I've decided to withdraw my application, blah, blah, blah. And so it was like, I really committed at that point to my business actually, because there was this email to like this fully funded PhD program. And I was like, sorry, not for me.
That is insane. I didn't know that you withdrew. I think that's really powerful because so many people, especially people that are looking to like take the leap into entrepreneurship, they're scared, they have fear, they have family members or friends that are not as supportive as the situation that you had, that are just terrified. And I think that when we look at the decisions that we as human beings get to make, right? So many people could have made judgments about you, like maybe they did, but you decided, and that's a key differentiator, is that you decided that you were going to create the life that you wanted on your own terms. Because from societal norms and standards, you had this beautiful program that you could have been in, you have this like robust academics, all the great things, but you knew deep down that entrepreneurship was for you. So I just love that. For one, I'm so happy you followed that path because we were able to cross each other's paths. But second, like obviously your clients are crushing it and thriving. You're killing it. And that just goes to show y'all that like follow that gut feeling, because that gut feeling, that soul feeling, that mind feeling, all of them in conjunction is never going to lead you astray. So I like, that's so insane. I did not know you with Drew, but I'm so happy that you did. I
Yeah.
would love to kind of talk about and shift gears a little bit, Kacy. I would love to know, you said that, at the beginning of really stepping into the online education industry, you were selling courses. Walk me through like, you had your $4,000 launch. Why did you decide to sell courses instead of like high ticket coaching initially? Like what was that deciding factor?
I'm going to tell you, like, I honestly didn't even consider myself a coach. Like, it wasn't even in my like world of possibility. It wasn't like, it
Mm-hmm.
was, and that's interesting to say because I was hiring them. So like the fact that
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself doing it, it was like I wasn't worthy, right? I wasn't good enough. I hadn't been doing it long enough. I
All the
hadn't,
mindset junk and drama
yeah,
that we all have to work through at every stage, but that's real life. Like it really happens, y'all.
yeah, it wasn't even like a possibility. So like to me, it was like, well, I'm really good at this one thing in speech therapy. So let me teach that. And I will say, I considered doing consultations. I wanted to
Mm,
sell consultations, but actually, those were hard to sell when I was like doing it in this model of like, oh, buy a consultation for like $50 for an hour or whatever. I think I sold a few of those. And
yeah.
it just wasn't, I'm like, this isn't sustainable. So
Definitely not. I always hear me talk about stop trying to sell $99 coaching sessions, because at the end of the day, like for one, it's not fulfilling for you. You're overworked, you're pouring in so much energy. And like at the end of the day, you're like, where's all the money? Because you have to literally trade every single hour for money. And that just at some point, that's just not going to work anymore. As an entrepreneur, as an employee, whole different story, but as an entrepreneur, it's completely different. So I would love to kind of like know, like, so when you made that decision to step into courses, what was like where were you at, like from a mindset perspective? I'm always curious about this because we all have levels to our journey. So like what was going on in your brain when you were like, I'm going to step online and I'm going to start selling courses. And I also eventually had a $4,000 launch. Like what was going on in your brain?
I think what was going on was like that was all I had seen. So, like in speech therapy and healthcare, how it's run is people go to continuing education courses to get better at their
Mhm.
jobs. And so,
Gotcha.
like, I had been going to them, I had been investing in those for a while as a speech language pathologist. Like, I'm going to take this course on pediatrics and swallowing, I'm going to take this course in adults and dementia. So like I was used to that setup and I had been taking these courses online through like these like speechpathology.com and healthcare people out there will understand what I'm saying. It's like that's kind of the culture. So I knew that culture and I was like, let me apply this, but in my own business. So that was kind of how I got into that. That was the mindset. I didn't have this expansive like idea that there were other things that I could be doing with my time or my money or my resources. And so I just was really like, it was almost like you had these blinders on and you're like, I have this
Yeah.
niche and I'm really good at it. And it was successful, relatively speaking. Right.
Yeah.
I think it was just too small though. Like, and I think that's the thing about an entrepreneur, we're always constantly, it's like you're
Evolving.
almost constantly evolving. And then you're like always like, oh, the box got too small again. I gotta like open it up and do something else. Oh, the box got too small again. I gotta,
Yeah.
expand, expand, expand. So
That is super powerful because so many of us, like when we start off as entrepreneurs, as coaches, like we kind of sit in a box because somebody tells us to. And I love that you decided that that's not how you wanted to show up and be and operate, that you are this expansive being, because as a being, we're constantly, I mean, from like a cell, we grow up to be full blown human beings. And even from there, we're constantly changing. So it makes sense that you do that inside of your business. And I kind of want to segue that into, as you kind of gradually started to think about what was next for you. I know we kind of started working together about a year ago almost. So what were you thinking and what were you looking at when you decided that, hey, like I really want to start selling at a higher level, high ticket, and really work with people a lot more deeper than I was like wide. So walk me through like your thought process and what was like that defining factor to make you say, I think I need to do more in my business?
Yeah, it was definitely when I started doing courses and it was like, and I started doing a little bit of coaching, I realized that it still wasn't a sustainable model what I was using. So it wasn't going to carry me to a full-time salary doing
Yeah.
launches like 3 times a year and then doing coaching packages about, a few thousand or like $2,000 for like a few months. So I knew I needed to upgrade my business in a way. So that's when I invested in your program, Elevate to Success. And I wanted to learn how to grow and sustain an income, not only that would meet my previous one, but that would exceed it.
Yeah, and I think that's super important to you to touch on, like not just meeting your income or what's comfortable as like an employee necessarily, because yeah, you were at an entrepreneur level, but when we think about being an entrepreneur making $4,000, only $4,000 a month, like that's definitely a great income. But when we think about the next level, when you're looking at growing and expanding and being able to travel and do all the great things that you love to do, it's going to take more than, just a couple of course sales here and there. You're gonna want to feel fulfilled and you're gonna want to work with people a lot deeper. So I would love to kind of know, like, when you created your high ticket offer, I know you're kind of selling some other stuff now, but I really want to focus on like the creation of your high ticket offer. What was like the most impactful for you? Like when you were starting to create your high ticket offer, what really stood out to you in the process and why did you specifically want to create? Because you started with one-to-one, scaling with group, all of that fun stuff, but why did you want to go high ticket? Because you could have very well went like mid ticket, and there's other things that you could have done, but why did you choose like a high ticket offer? Like, why was that important for you?
I think the high ticket offers, what I love about them is that we really get to walk alongside somebody for a longer period of time. The transformations I'm able to achieve with clients who are invested at high ticket is very vastly different than the results I get out of a low ticket to mid ticket offer. So, just the amount of support they receive, the amount of transformation they're able to experience, the amount of time that I get to spend with them, the amount of support they're getting, like they're getting Voxer access, a group, different people they get to connect with and network with through my networks, through the groups. That's just to me like why we're doing this, right? We're here to make a
Mm,
bigger impact. And so, yeah, like I love doing like lower mid ticket things to like meet people and get them into my world. But
yeah.
it's honestly the transformation and the experiences really change when somebody works with me one to one for a longer period of time or in a group with me for a longer period of time.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that about the impact because the income that you make is only going to carry you so far, right? Because we could hit, $100,000 months, $200,000 months, like all that is really expansive and amazing. But when we come back to the core of who we are, and I know this is something that's really important to you specifically, Kacy, it's like really making such a deep impact where you're literally transforming lives like on a day to day basis. And it's a lot harder to do that when you're like just scraping by because you're trying to launch like tons of times, or you're trying to figure out where the next client's coming from and they're only paying you $37 or whatever it may be. It's so much easier to go deeper with your people instead of, when you have that higher ticket offer. So when you implemented like a higher ticket offer compared to when you were working with your clients and like courses and lower ticket items, did you see that your clients got better results? I'm always curious when I talk to my clients about this because I know when we implemented Elevate to Success, our clients like instantly got like 10x better results because of, for one, my energy and my belief in the offer that I was selling. I'm like obsessed with Elevate to Success, but also because it gave more because it required people like for you, like it required all of you to show up so much more powerful. So I'm curious on your take when you implement a high ticket, what shifts did you see in yourself? And then what shifts did you see like in your clients?
Huge shifts in myself. So I think when we coach one to one, we're actually really challenged as coaches to begin to work on ourselves even on a deeper level because we start to see like if our clients are having struggles and we're having similar struggles and it triggers us and then we're like forced to work on ourselves. So I think it's almost like the greatest blessing because it's like, oh, like they have this issue and I've kind of had this issue too. So I guess I got to really work on that because it's going to
Yeah.
come up for my clients and I need to be able to support them and I desire to support them, right? I want to support them in
So
this.
yeah.
So I really it's like once you become a coach, you're dedicating your a lot of your time and a lot of your energy and a lot of your own money into personal development.
Yeah.
That's just
It's
a
your crafts.
non-negotiable.
It's just like an athlete. Like they have to work out, they have to train, they have to eat well, and they have to spend a lot of money on it. So I love that you brought that up because it's like holding up a mirror when we get triggered or we're like, why is this continuously happening for my client? And it's also happening for me. It really, I mean, it kind of starts to defy the norm and you have to work on yourself. There's no more like if, ands, or buts about it. You have to work on yourself, heal, do the things, become a better coach because you have this other human in your hands that you're responsible for supporting. So I think that's a really, really great point that you brought up because so often, sometimes people want to get into coaching. They're like, oh, I'll just coach and make a lot of money. But it's like, no, there's some deep work that you've got to do to become the best version of yourself, to be the best version for your clients. I love that you touched on that. What else kind of came up for you, like implementing your high ticket offer? Like, where did you see your clients start to transform the most?
Yeah. So I think with my clients, the things I'm the most like happy for them for, like the things I'm proud of them for, are really just seeing them embrace more of who they are, like embrace their own power, embrace their own gifts, embrace their own genius, right? And it's like I
Yeah.
love being the person that's like, hey, like you're really good. Like this is amazing. You're so gifted at this. Go with that. Like listen to yourself, follow your intuition, do the things that light you up, stop all the crap that's just like tearing you down and like
Draining you.
draining you. I
Yeah.
love helping them leave their jobs. I love helping them, do the things that have already done, and I can help guide them like, okay, here's how we navigate your business. Here's how we can create a business for you that feels good and feels aligned. And here's how you can have your freaking spirit guides help you create your business. Oh my gosh, how
Yeah.
amazing is that? So it's just like, I love that. And so many of my clients, they're earlier versions of me. A lot of them are speech language pathologists, oddly enough. I don't even market to them, but they've been
The
following me for
energy
a
is
while.
there. It
They
just
know.
is there.
I talk like them. That's what it is. I'm like, I sound
Right.
way too academic in my marketing. I need to change this. Yeah, it's like I'm talking like, it's so hard to take the academics out of you after
Yeah,
you've
because it's
been
a
in that
part of your
room.
identity. Like even though it's an old part of you, it's still part of your root identity. So I think, I mean, hey, it's working for you. Clearly, you're crushing it. So hey, you might want to keep it for a little while longer, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but it's, I just love that. I love seeing like people go through the same awakenings, the same realizations, having the same similar insights that I had earlier in my journey, and helping facilitate that for them in a much faster way. Having them have their breakthroughs, being able to witness those, being able to witness them getting their first clients, or charging a super uncomfortable amount for them for a client that they're going to pursue. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really cool to watch them grow. And I think for us as coaches, we don't get to take credit for all the things that they've done, but we get to feel very proud and honored that they chose us as their guides.
Yeah, exactly. Because mentorship is the fastest way to get the results that we want. So, obviously, we definitely can't take credit 100% for the results that we've gotten our clients, but it shows and speaks to the leadership as a coach that you have because it takes really strong leadership to help lead people to get to where they weren't able to get on their own. So, I just love that you touched on that because when you charge that high ticket price, y'all, it commands excellence, period. It just does if you're doing it the right way. And I've watched you go on this beautiful journey, Kacy, and it's just been so unbelievable to watch as you fully stepped into yourself, your next level version of, who you want to become, the woman that you are, and just the CEO and the leader that, you're taking on this journey to lead your clients through. So it's been a really magical journey to watch as you've tested and experimented with different things. I would love for you to like talk about like some of the things that you have tested like on your journey. What have you loved? What haven't you liked? Because as much as I'd love to kind of talk about the wins, I think it's important that we talk about, maybe some of the times in our business that didn't quite work the way that we wanted or where we felt like we failed. So what have been some of those moments for you in the last like 11 months or so?
I think for me, like the hardest thing, like, and it's definitely been like an interesting journey, right? It's like, you have the highs of like, for me, I think the best high I've had since your program is like my 14,000 cash month. I think that was
Mhm.
like the amazing,
Amazing.
amazing win
Amazing.
for me. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is amazing. The downside of that is like, okay, sustainability. Like I want to sustain this momentum. I want to keep this momentum going. And then things happen in your personal life where you're like derailed a little bit, or like
Yeah.
things shift, or clients all of a sudden can't, aren't paying you, or they need to drop out, or they need to end their all these things happen, right? So I've lost clients, I've let go of clients that weren't good fits. I've had launches that I didn't sell anything. Definitely, it's like a constant experiment is entrepreneurship, right? We're always constantly trying to find like, okay, what is the way that I find joy, and like how can I have a really fun way of finding my people and drawing my people in, magnetizing my people in a way that's not draining for me. And
Yeah.
so that's constantly like my current like situation, right? It's like I want that energy. And so it takes a lot of trying. Like, I've done challenges and I've done different fun master classes, and it's just a constant like, okay, I liked how this felt, but I didn't like how this was. So how can I shift it a little bit so it's a little bit more fun and easy for the next go around? And that's just kind of how my journey has been.
I love that you shared like the highest of highs and then like the lowest of lows. Like when your personal life comes into play, like you've got to deal with other things that are actually affecting your business. Because I always say this, the goal is to build a life and a business that we love, but we can't just build a business and ignore our life. Like we can't, you don't get to that dreamy vision place without fixing the things, or at least attempting to fix, because sometimes things aren't fixable, right? And we all know that, but at least working on and fixing the things in our personal life that are going to contribute to how we show up in our business. Because I don't care what anybody says, y'all, it's so intertwined and so connected. Would you agree, Kacy? Like life and
Yes.
business, it's like
Oh,
so intertwined.
you
Yeah.
can't separate them, unfortunately. Believe
You
me.
can't. You really can't. If you're a personal, like, even if you're not a personal brand, like, this is your life's work, right? Coaches, us coaches and consultants and service providers online, like, this is literally our life's work. So when I see people trying to like separate themselves and like not be on social media at all, I'm just like, you're literally clowning yourself, because you thought this was going to be one way. It's going to be a whole different way. I think it's important too. And I would love to kind of just touch back on like when you talked about how it was so important for you, like making sure that you did, looked at finding things that worked well for you. Because there, we teach a lot of different strategies, and not every strategy is going to work for you, right? You've got to test and be willing and open to test. So I would love to know, like, going into, looking at strategy as a whole, like obviously like mindset, I feel is 90% of it all. But when we think about taking action and, implementing different strategies, like what mindset shifts did you have to make to be willing to keep showing up and testing when things weren't going as well as you wanted in your business?
I think that's when I really
Loaded
rely on,
question.
I know, when I really rely on my own coaching skills to coach myself,
Yeah.
or rely on my coaches, right? I think when things don't go the way that you plan, when your launch flops or your thing doesn't sell or your people drop out or whatever, it really is good to have a practice that brings you back to why you started this in the first place. Like, why are you here? What is your reason for doing this? Because it's not going to be like a job where you have this paycheck coming in no matter what. It's going to be a different type of experience. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And it can be wonderful and it can be terrible. It's really what you make of it, right? And
And you
what
get to
your
choose that
perspective
too.
is. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
and
get to
you get to
choose.
choose that, because we could sit here all day, right, and be like, "Oh my gosh, my challenge flopped, or my masterclass flopped. Nobody booked a call or a bot, so I'm just gonna be mad at myself and make it mean something about me." When in reality, it means absolutely nothing about you. It may mean that you just need to change your messaging, or you need to show up differently, or maybe that you need to outreach more people, or you need to maybe look at your ads, or whatever it may be. Like, instead of making it mean something about us as entrepreneurs and coaches, how about we just identify the thing that needs to be fixed?
Yeah.
Because when we start to identifying the things that actually needs to be fixed, and we separate ourselves from like why things went wrong, it's going to make it a hell of a lot easier for us to get back on that horse the next day and ride it, right? It's going to make it so much easier. And I think you've definitely been such an amazing example of when shit goes left or hits the fan, you're able to get back on and keep on the straight and narrow path, because you have such a big vision, and your why is what's carrying you every step of the way.
Yeah.
So I just have loved watching your evolution over the last 11 months, almost 12. So
Yeah. It's been a
yeah.
wild ride. It's been
Right?
fun.
It's right.
I'm like, man, the amount of things I've learned in the last few months, like I'm like, man, it would take some people like a lifetime to learn all these things. It's like incredible what we really can learn if we really invest in our personal and business development. Like the
Yeah.
more, and that's what I just encourage everybody listening to think about is like, if you're feeling like you're struggling in an area of your business or struggling in an area of your life, like what would feel good to you? Like what would feel correct for you to like look into that problem and like look within yourself to see, okay, I'm feeling this way. I know there's people out there that can support me. Reach out for that kind of support, right? It's like there's so many amazing coaches out there that can help you with a variety of different things and services, right? Reach for support. You're not supposed to do this alone. You're really not.
Not at all. I tried to do it alone and I flopped and failed when I first started. And I was like, I will never, ever, ever be in this place again. There's no reason to, right? We're going to have small failures. If that's, I don't even really like using that word, but we may fail, but we're going to fail forward. And it's a lot easier, right? When you have the support system in place that can say, hey, like, especially as a coach, sometimes I look at my clients, and sometimes I look at y'all and I'm like, I know that they shouldn't do that, but I'm going to let them, experience that. And then I'm also going to step in and save you when I need to save you. But you still, like, you're going to be your own person. You still have to learn how to coach yourself through it, handle your emotions, operate in integrity, and all those great things. But it's so much easier to do that when you have somebody that's already done it, like, and has already made 10 times more mistakes and can shorten the learning curve. So I think that's really powerful that you mentioned that, because the best investment that you can make, y'all, is going to be in yourself, your business, your health, your life, all of it. I have coaches, like I have a relationship coach, I have business coach, I have about to hire a life coach. Like I am just all about it because I know that mentorship will get me further faster, and we don't have to do it alone. So, and I always say that, like, there's no reason that you have to do anything alone. The only reason
Yes.
to do it alone is if you're choosing that. And I think that's a pretty bad decision. So, I love it. Today's episode is sponsored by our signature group coaching program. Coaches tell me all the time, I'm ready for freedom in my coaching business. One-to-one coaching has been fun, but I'm ready for what's next. While there is a time and a place for courses in one-to-one coaching, when you're looking to scale past those coveted 10K months, an evergreen group coaching program is absolutely necessary. When I launched my evergreen group coaching program in 2019, it literally changed my entire life and business. Why? Because I was no longer capped on time. I took my expertise, packaged it up, and sold it one to many every single day of the week. I finally got the real freedom that I've been looking for, and the bank account too. This new way of coaching created massive leverage and massive impact. If you're anything like me, your freedom and impact is non-negotiable. This is exactly why I want to invite you to apply for the Elevate to Success Accelerator Group Coaching Program. Just for applying, I also want to send you over a free exclusive advanced training I recently created about the 3-part framework to consistent 5 to 6 figure months with a high ticket group coaching program. This training is for coaches who are ready to create a group coaching program, attract clients on autopilot, and create a business that you truly love. It's for you, even if you have a small audience of never sold group coaching before. It takes just 2 minutes to apply. Head on over to www.latisehudson.com/apply to get all the details. So talk to me about, like, when you think about looking back on your journey, like what are you like most proud of? I'd love to ask this question because we can talk about like our money wins and like obviously you're crushing it. But when I think about like what are you most proud of? Has it been an event? Has it been, working with your clients in a specific session? Like what are you most proud of?
Oh, I love this question. And I think for me, like honestly, and this is going to sound probably pretty weird, but I think my biggest like thing I'm proud of is like knowing my own power, like learning my own power that I have, like and how I'm able to use not like power like control or like
Right.
force or anything like that. I mean like your own authentic power, your own divine right to have a beautiful energy, to have this influence, to have this capacity to help people, to have this like a life where we get to do this. And I think for me, like learning that my gifts, learning my place in the online space has been something I'm really proud of, because to announce that you're a psychic medium online is not exactly easy. To announce that you're a spiritual coach to your family is not exactly easy. To stand in that and own it and be proud of it was not easy. And so I think to say that that's something I'm really proud of is stepping outside of my comfort zone and doing something that most people look at me like I'm kind of crazy if they've never heard of the
Yeah.
coaching industry. So I think that's something I'm really proud of.
I'm really proud of you too. I know that you originally started as just kind of a blanket like business coach, and then over, a few months you started to pivot, and like your transformation just went from you were already crushing it, but you just went to like next level because you
Mhm.
were truly walking in your purpose and living authentically to the mission that you were called here on earth to complete. So I just love that you share that, because so many of us sometimes get caught up in like what everybody else is doing, but you decided to say, hey, like that's not me. It's a part of me, but it's not all of me. And I'm going to just fully be me. And the clients are going to come. And that's exactly what happened. Like the clients just came. You didn't have to do tons of cold outreach,
No,
none
yeah.
of that. You just were able to show up as yourself.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I mean, that's what I wish for everybody. I wish for everybody to have this, to learn their gifts and to like develop them and to like be who they are, at the core of themselves, and to feel confident in that. And yeah, I mean, it's a journey. It's never ending. I'm always going to be
Never.
uncovering new things about learning new things about me.
Yeah.
But I love helping clients do that process as well, because I know that that's where life gets to be really fun.
I would love to know, where do you get your confidence from?
Oh man. I honestly, I don't even know, Latiz.
Well, if
Born
you
this way. That's all I've got to say.
I always ask this question because, I'm not a big fan of I don't know. So when I coach, I'm always like, well, if you did know, what would be the answer? So, Kacy, if you did know, what would be the answer? Is it a certain way like that you were brought up? Is it like your schooling? Is it how you've been treated? And you're like, I don't want to be treated this way. I'm going to be confident. Where does like this beaming, radiant confidence come from? Because since day one, you've always just been so confident. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say you've been confident 99 or 100% of the
Right.
time, but
We have bad
you
days.
yeah, I mean, girl, yes, we all have some bad days, honey. But I think when I think of you as a leader, and I think of you just really taking your industry specifically and like putting such a unique twist on traditional business, because not only do you obviously do some more traditional business coaching, but it's really from the perspective of spirituality and, like you said, being a psychic medium and blending all that together. So like, what gave you the confidence to just step out and own that? I'm curious. I really am.
A lot of it, I saw other people doing it and they have this confidence. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing this. And I have this gift and I just haven't told anybody.
Yeah.
Another thing is also, I think the way I was brought up, I have parents that are very supportive. I'm very blessed in that regard. And
Yeah.
I was brought up with a lot of nurturing in that way of Kacy, you're amazing, Kacy, you're great. Kacy, they would definitely correct me when I was not being great, but you know what I'm saying? That
Humbled
they
you
were
real
very,
quick.
yeah, they would. My family, yeah, they're very honest. So it was like, it was this constant, like, they instilled a lot of confidence in me by speaking kindness and strength and love into me from a young age. I think that made a large impact in my confidence today. And so thanks, mom and dad. I also
Shout
think,
out to mom and dad.
shout out to my mom and dad. I also think that, seeing other people step forward in this realm, knowing women, knowing men who are owning their spiritual gifts and spiritual beliefs proudly really helped me own mine as well. So I think that it's really modeled. A lot of this is modeled, and we get to decide, am I going to emulate this person that I think is amazing that I would like to model after, or am I just going to like be in my mindset of like, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm not going to be good enough. I can never do that. And it's a
Yeah,
choice.
it totally is a choice. And for any of you listening that's like, maybe you're not a traditional, from traditional standards, your niche may not be super traditional. Just know that there is so much room and so much space for you. And Kacy is like a pure walking testimony about how just owning your gifts, and yes, making it tangible, because y'all know I'm all about tangibility when it comes to especially selling high ticket. But at any step in the process, like you can decide that you're going to make it tangible. You're going to show up for your people, and you're going to own your gifts, and you're going to make a lot of money while doing it. It all boils down to a decision. And Kacy, like, if anybody, like you have made that decision and claimed it boldly, and just your growth has been so amazing. So I'm just so grateful that you decided that you're not going to just be like everybody else. And you're going to, there's some people that you're going to emulate, but you're just going to be Kacy, and you're going to show up and show all the liquid gold, and you're going to just be amazing and own it. And I think that comes back to how we talk a lot about having confidence in your offer, because if you're not confident in what you're selling or confident as who you are as a human and as a coach, it's going to be extremely difficult for people to buy from you. So, take some notes, y'all, because confidence is key. And the other thing too, before we wrap up, is like when we think about confidence, yes, Kacy was very blessed to have, a support system, but some of you may not have that, but that's okay. Like you get to decide now that you're going to create that for yourself. And if you have kids or people that are watching you, they're watching you and they're going to need that support. So be strong for not only for you, but be strong for them and be confident for them, so you can show other people what's possible, because that's really what our big goal as a coach is, to get transformation, help people break through, and show people what's possible. So if you didn't have a big support system, no harm, no foul, you get to choose and you get to create that, starting today. And I just love, being inside of a group coaching program and community, because some of the women haven't had those support systems and they've been able to come in and create a real sisterhood. I remember at a retreat in May this year, right? Everyone's like, we're sisters for life, like literally all of us. Yeah, I was a coach or whatever, but I'm just like, I feel like all of my clients are family to me forever, seriously. So it's just a complete game changer when you fully step into yourself. So
yeah, no, the retreat was so much fun.
yeah, right. Oh, take me back. So, Kacy, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Before we wrap up, I'm going to have 2 questions for you. The first question I love to ask our guests is, what's been the best piece of business advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of business advice that I've ever received. It's honestly to follow your intuition, like to follow what lights you up, to do that thing, like to use that as your goalpost of what you need to be doing in this world, right? Don't just emulate somebody else. Don't just copy somebody else. Like literally listen to yourself and design a business out of that.
Yeah, I love that. Be you unapologetically and just own it. Seriously. So good. All right, Kacy, where can everybody find you on social media? Where can they follow you?
All right. You can find me on my website at kacybarron.com. That's KACYBARRON.com. I'm also on Instagram at kacy.barron, and I'm on Facebook. So my group is High Vibe Money Manifestation. You can find me inside there. And that's my free Facebook group where we manifest using liquid gold to meditations. Yeah.
y'all need to not walk, but you need to run to her free Facebook group. It is on and popping. And if you've been really wanting to work on your manifestation game, Kacy is that chick. Okay. So go follow her, join her free Facebook group. We'll make sure that everything's linked in the show notes. But Kacy, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm just so honored I've been able to serve you for the last almost a year. And I'm just so excited to see what the future holds.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great chatting with you.
You're welcome. Hey, if you loved today's episode, I would love if you took a quick second to leave a rating and a review. It truly means the world to me and helps spread the message to coaches just like you who are ready to go to the next level in their business. And if you're ready to start scaling your online coaching business, I want to take the time to invite you to apply. This program would help you finally scale past those coveted 10K months and create a scalable business model for years to come. Head on over to www.laticehudson.com/apply to submit your application and get all the details. You don't want to miss it.